PFF grades the top 32 wide receivers in the NFL, and the Chicago Bears were well represented in that list. We'll talk a little bit about that. Plus, we're going to talk about how offseason development is key for a few Bears players that are going to be pretty big in the Bears' success in 2024. We're going to get to all that and more right after this.
You are now tuned in to Chicago Bears Central, your number one place for all Chicago Bears news and content.
What's going on, Bears fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bears Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bears related. I'm the host here, Haize, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at Chi Bears Central on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that being said, let's go ahead and get into this content for today, y'all. And so, Pro Football Focus ranked the top 32 wide receivers in the NFL. And Bears were all three of the Bears' top three wide receivers were represented in that list. DJ Moore actually ranked as number 12th in that on that list, and they talked about how he got over 1,300 yards last year receiving, even with, they marked Justin Fields as he was kind of figuring out the game at the beginning of the season. That's neither here nor there. But they talked about DJ Moore. He was ranked at number 12 there. Keenan Allen came in at number 22nd. They talked about his 97 targets across the top 7 games from last season, and then how he had 1,243 yards in 13 games last season, which all solid numbers from him is there as well. And then Rome Odunze, one of 3 rookie wide receivers in this list. He was the lowest ranked in that list at number 29. And, with him, they talked about how in most drafts, he would have been probably the first wide receiver taken off the board. That is something that I did talk a lot about in my draft evaluation of Rome Odunze, how, in most drafts, he would have been the first wide receiver taken in most drafts. And so because of that, the Bears are ranked really well in this, and they were the only team in the NFL to have 3 wide receivers ranked on the top 32 list. So that goes a long way in showing kind of the expectations around this wide receiver core. But this is nothing new to Bears fans, right? We know the difference that we have here now and the talent that we have in the wide receiver room. This is a huge improvement for the Bears. When you look at how our wide receiver room was ranked towards the bottom of many lists last year, and how now we're coming in at one of the best wide receiver rooms on paper. Of course, we need to show it how it's going to happen in reality in actual football games. But this is a big reason of why you have that confidence. While the Bears are predicted to have more wins than losses this year, why Bears fans are saying this needs to be a year where we're competing for a playoff spot is because the expectations are there. The talent is there, right? And when you have the talent, you like to think, hey, it's all going to come together. Now, they need to prove that it's going to come together that way, that it's going to come together in a way that it's going to lead to wins for the Chicago Bears. But, hey, the talent is what you can evaluate right now, right? The talent is the thing that you need to get yourself in the door. And now we need to see how the talent's going to be utilized. But they've given Shane Waldron a whole hell of a lot to use here. And they've done a lot for their rookie quarterback in Caleb Williams. And when you add into that as well, like how Shane Waldron's really been glowing about Caleb Williams in this OTA period, just talking about he's one of the best quarterbacks he's seen as far as making the difficult decisions and things like that. It has led to a lot of excitement around the Bears. And that's really what it keeps going back to. There's true excitement around the Chicago Bears again for the first time in what feels like quite a while for this Bears franchise, is having excitement and excitement that you can actually root into the talent here, right? Bears fans are always excited every offseason. And while you have the naysayers that, still think the Bears are going to suck or whatever, however they word it, this seems like it feels as of right now different. They have to maintain that feeling by showing it on the football field, but through what they can show so far, Caleb Williams seems to be growing, adapting to the system really well, learning his players, those type of things. We have the talent in the wide receiver room, those 3 wide receivers. And then, like I talked about in yesterday's episode, even having Tyler Smith, right, come in there and be able to make the most out of the opportunities that he's given, because he's still going to get some with being in a Shane Waldron system. So those type of things are all good, all points to the right direction for the Chicago Bears. And we got some things that we absolutely need to grow on. We need to keep developing on. But the wide receiver room for the Bears, on top of the defense, right? The defense is one of the things I'm most, confident in, right? Is that defense, and hopefully that doesn't blow up in my face. But the talent in this wide receiver room and overall in the players that are going to be receiving overall, and Cole Kmet, Gerald Everett, right? Even having DeAndre Swift receiving out the backfield. Like, we have a lot of talent at the disposal of both Shane Waldron and Caleb Williams. it's just up to it all to come together. It's up to Caleb to use it right, and to be the quarterback that we need him to be. It's up to Shane Waldron to find a way to get everybody involved and to use the depth that we have here. But the depth in that wide receiver core overall for the Chicago Bears, that's going to be something that we could reap complete benefits from, and just having that depth there. And I'll go on to say, like, this is probably the most depth we've ever had as a receiving core. I know some people are going to try to make some for conversations for some other ones, but like when you look at the totality of it, not just the wide receivers, but the tight ends as well and their versatility, I just don't know if we've ever had that. And so hopefully, things go the way that we hope that they are going to go, and the way that it's shaping up to look like they can go, and that the Bears finally take advantage of some of the talent, and that we use the talent the correct way. You can have talent all day long, but if you don't have the right people to execute, you have the right talent, you can have the right game plan. If your talent doesn't fit in your game plan, and your game plan doesn't take the talent of your core into consideration, you're just going to end up kind of with a very talented bunch of shit, to just be frank with you. So we definitely need this to continue for the Chicago Bears, man. And, I'm really excited about the season and what it could bring out. But with being excited about the season, we really need to continue to look at who needs to step up for this Bears team. This is still a Bears team that has tons of questions around it, right? And, at the top of that list, as far as things that we have that question mark around it, it is Shane Waldron and Caleb Williams. What are they going to end up bringing, right? It kind of, for the offensive side of the ball, not that it's all on Caleb Williams, but a lot this season is all going to come back to how much has Caleb Williams shown? How did Shane Waldron use and adapt the system to the talent and things like that? It's going to come down to those two aspects. Caleb has more questions, more pressure than anybody else on the Chicago Bears team, maybe except Ryan Poles. Maybe if you want to look at like overall pressure in the organization to succeed. And so, Caleb Williams, how he handles this offseason period and how he uses it to help him jumpstart that season and to be in a great position to start the season is going to be a big key to everything for the Chicago Bears. And Caleb seems like he's really, from what we're hearing so far, he's in a position to be able to do that. Seems like all those things are going well for him. So you just want to keep that development going. I've so far liked hearing that he's one of the first people at practice. He asks a tons of questions to make sure he knows that he really has a passion over knowing that offensive playbook like the back of his hand, because that's what you want to see from your quarterback. Your quarterback that is so that game plan, knowing every kind of branch of that is second nature to them, is what's going to help the offense look that much better, right? So it comes down to that. And with Shane Waldron, listen, you got a lot of weapons, and you got to find a way to make this work this season. You cannot overlook Shane Waldron. How Shane Waldron's already talked about that they want to use the talent that they have here to exploit mismatches, right? To have a bunch of different looks on the offensive side of the ball. It all sounds great. Sounds easy. It sounds like it's something that should be easy to implement per what we have here, but he got to bring it as well. This is a great launching pad for the Chicago Bears and what this new look Bears team is and can be in the long run. But we got to see how that's going to come together, and those are two big pieces of that as well. Another one to flip on the defensive side of the ball, you got to look at Javon Dexter. I've talked, a lot in certain degrees about Javon Dexter. The fact that we lost Justin Jones, who really didn't look great, right? He looked solid, but didn't look great until Montez Sweat got here. But Javon Dexter last season, 29 total pressures, 4 sacks in that time. We got Javon Dexter is stepping into a place now where he is going to be looked to be that 3 tech for the Chicago Bears. And we know how important that is for Matt Eberflus's defensive system. And for a defensive line that didn't address the edge, right, in the way that a lot of Bears fans had hope in getting a bigger name in here, and that didn't address the 3 tech either when there were some available, Javon Dexter, this is his year to shine and show that this position is going to be his from now and into the future as well. And so, Javon Dexter steps into with a lot of expectations around him as well. Of course, the presence of Montez Sweat for a full season is definitely going to help him as well. And to keep in mind there, 20 out of the 29 pressures that Javon Dexter had last season were after Montez Sweat came. The 4 sacks also were all after Montez Sweat came to the team. So to see how Javon Dexter really steps up big time this season is going to be important for that. And we got to see if Dexter is really going to step into that role and be more consistent with his production and be able to help get pressure on the quarterback and in the run game in run defense in that as well. You're really looking for Javon Dexter to really step up hugely as well. And then secondly, it's to stay on the defensive side of the ball, the total secondary for the Chicago Bears defense. This is a secondary that I feel hugely confident in. You got Jalen Johnson, who got his deal. He got his money. Now, how are you going to perform? Are you going to perform more like you did in the second half of that season, right? And listen, I've always said that Jalen Johnson has been somebody who's been good, right? Where people were knocking on him just because of the lack of interceptions. I feel like there are so many other things that go into being a good corner in this league that he was showing as well. But he also got to the ball, right? He got those turnovers, right? And so you want that to see that develop for Jalen Johnson. But the secondary overall, Jalen Johnson, Tyreek Stevenson, Kyler Gordon, right? Jaquan Brisker, Bayard in this now as the new acquisition. The secondary is a huge thing that we're looking for, but you're also looking for big steps from the younger players. Tyreek Stevenson showed a whole hell of a lot last season in his ability to be the guy who's going to get enforced turnovers, who's going to get those takeaways for the Chicago Bears. And so having that right there and being that player that can do that and be a big hitter as well, listen, you got to look at Tyreek Stevenson as he's a player that you got to expect a whole hell of a lot of. And then Kyler Gordon as well, being is now second year being in that nickel where he really thrived at last season as well. This young cornerback crew, them growing some as well. We got to look for that. But Tyreek Stevenson specifically, when you look at it, he gave up 72 catches for 836 yards and 9 touchdowns last season. Out of 83 cornerbacks who played at least 361 coverage snaps, those put him at 82nd, 80th, and 83rd respectively. So, listen, Tyreek Stevenson made a big impact for the Chicago Bears, but we need to see him take it a step further next year. What's going to be next in your development path for Tyreek Stevenson? And that's what we need to see. But then the whole secondary overall, I want to make a big part of as well. And then to go back to the offensive side of the ball, Tevin Jenkins and Nate Davis. Nate Davis specifically, can you play games this season? Can you stay healthy? We know that you had the personal issues to start the season, not holding that off against you. But then you had other issues after that time as well. We need Nate Davis to be that veteran that we brought in here to be and to be consistent in what he developed and what he produces on that offensive line. And then Tevin, we already know. Tevin is one of the best offensive linemen in the NFL when he's healthy. And, I know we had the call from Darius not too long ago that said you don't pay. Like, if Tevin Jenkins could stay healthy, you pay a player like Tevin Jenkins. He's done everything that you've needed and asked him to do except staying healthy. But on the football field things, listen, that's what you don't doubt that with Tevin Jenkins when he's on the football field. But we need Tevin Jenkins to use this offseason and as a launching pad to come into next season completely healthy for the Chicago Bears as well. And so let's hope that that's the case. Tevin Jenkins, who's had injury concerns over every year of his NFL career so far, we know he's up for the next contract. We need to see Tevin Jenkins stay a lot more healthy because once he's on the court, on the field, basketball talk, when he's on the field, he brings everything that we need him to bring. We just need him on the field more. And if he can do that, listen, that's what we need to see. He's played 23 of 34 games so far over the past 2 seasons. We need more of that from him. We need more than that from him, I should say. And so hopefully this is a season where the health isn't the biggest question about Tevin Jenkins or the biggest thing that we're talking about. We're more so talking about how Tevin Jenkins played on that offensive line and has a Pro Bowl season or whatever it is, because Tevin Jenkins is a talent, and he's the type of talent I would love to see stay around here on the Chicago Bears team overall. So that's what I love to see. And, overall, we know that the Bears, they have still some questions. There's still some talk around the Bears maybe adding Yannick Ngakoue back to this team and things like that. We know the posts that he keeps making, and it keeps, turning heads and asking that question, is he going to come back? Would the Bears really look to bring Yannick Ngakoue back? And listen, if they bring him back, it's going to be on a cost, a team-friendly deal. It's not going to be on the type of deal that he was on last season where it was over $10 million. So it just becomes about, I think they're going to go through and look at what this team brings in OTAs, in training camp, before they make that decision. I don't really see any teams kind of rushing to sign Yannick Ngakoue, so the Bears could have the time that they need to really evaluate what they have here to see if anybody's going to step up before they look to add somebody like a Yannick Ngakoue as a veteran option to this team. But that remains to be seen what we're going to get, right? Could Dominique Robinson come in and surprise some people in what he's going to be able to bring? Could Austin Booker really, show that he's ready to maybe start right away, which could then change some things what the Bears are looking at overall, right? So, right now, where this team is, I feel content, right? As far as the talent on the defensive line, I think that it's betting a lot on Javon Dexter to make a step. It's betting a lot on Walker, for example, to a full season with having Montez Sweat on that other side and Billings and Javon in the interior. Maybe he can bring enough. But I think overall, the place that this defense is in with the linebackers, with the with the secondary, that those two groups are solid enough to where you feel okay about where we sit on that defensive side of the line side of the ball. But I know a lot of Bears fans are hoping that the Bears do still look to do something on the defensive line before the start of the season. And they very well may. I'm not ruling it out completely. I just think that it's something that they may be willing to take a look as for the evaluation piece and for the confidence piece of the young developmental pieces that they have here to say, let's roll the dice with what we got here rather than bringing in some veterans that could take away from the development snaps of these guys. But that could change as well. That could change very well in what they look at in training camp. I think that that's where we were last season when we even brought in Unique Ngakoue, is that we were hoping that some people were going to step up and develop and, show some things that we didn't necessarily expect. And then the Bears, coaching staff and front office quickly saw, we're not where we want to be at. So we're probably going to have to look to bring in a veteran. And Unique was sitting there. He was ready. He needed a deal. He needed to find a team. And the Bears needed somebody who can not theoretically, but who had a history of getting to the quarterback for them. And so they decided to do that and make that decision. So we'll end up seeing what happens with it overall, man. I feel, like I said, I feel pretty confident in it right now. And I think that is going to continue to go the way that we need it to go overall, man. And so let's hope that continues. But before we go, voicemail bag has been filling up again. It's always Darius. We're going to go ahead and play a voicemail from Darius, and I'll catch you guys on the other side of that.
What's going on, guys? Darius from Dallas here. I just want to call in and do a little Ryan Poles praising for a second because I see traits in him that you can just see that he's going to be a great GM. And he does a lot of things similar to, I remember how when Belichick in his heyday with the Patriots, how he would get these, these big name players, and he would still force them to prove themselves, as much as, Keenan, as good as Keenan Allen is, he said, hey man, look, you got to show us something, and as much potential as he might have seen in Justin, he said, hey man, you got to show me something, bro. Same thing with Tevin Jenkins, like, hey, we want to sign you, dude, but you ain't staying healthy, man. So you got to show us, and then once you show us, I got you. And that's what Belichick used to do, man. I remember he let Richard Seymour go. Bill Belichick did not hesitate on letting the motherfucker go if you didn't prove that you were going to live up to that contract. And he would just rebuild, and he would start over in the draft. He would trade you for a second or third round pick, and he just rebuilds. And that keeps us out of bad contracts, guys. Like that, y'all don't understand how important that is, man. How many times as Bears fans have we had these big contracts on the books, and these guys aren't performing? So as far as the contract re-signings, man, I think I don't really have no doubts with Ryan Poles and how he's done it, how he handled the Jalen Johnson situation. That's another example. A lot of GMs probably would have jumped the gun and signed Jalen Johnson last year, but you know what? Hey, Poles said, man, you got to give me some ball production. So what did he do? He went out there and he got them interceptions, and he's forcing these guys to, if you're going to be a max player, I'm going to need max results. All right. And I don't think that should be downplayed. I really hope as Bears fans that we sit back and we appreciate this, man, because this guy is not only making common sense signings, he's keeping us from getting tied up in bad contracts with players who don't live up to him. And that is a mistake that many GMs across the league make, man. We got a diamond in the rough here, guys. Let's just sit back and just praise this gentleman, because as much praise as Caleb is getting, and he ain't even stepped on the field, this man right here is about to be the reason why we're in the Super Bowl one day. So I just want to let that be known. And, man, I'm going to be out there this summer at some point, man. I got to go get me a White Sox game. So I'm going to need you and the crew to, give me a little escort. I mean, on that south side, I ain't really trying to hang around there too much from what I've been hearing. You're my best friend's from Chicago, and my mom's from East Chicago. So I'm a little bit familiar with the area. I ain't trying to walk around that, what it used to be called, guaranteed rate or whatever the hell. Look, man, I'm going to need a little entourage, need a little escort from y'all, man, if you don't mind, to go get out there and get that White Sox game in. But appreciate y'all, man, and Texas up, bear down.
And I completely agree with you, Darius. Like, Ryan Poles has laid a great foundation here. And I love the fact that with Ryan Poles, it comes down to, production, right? And I've always, described it as that that place where your production and the value overlap, and then he signs you for that, right? And I even go further to add into your Jalen Johnson part of it. Even him saying, all right, Jalen, listen, we got Montez Sweat. Now you got to perform, right? Basically, because that the offensive line and the pressure from that offensive line does help the secondary. So then in getting that and seeing how you produce with a better, I said offensive line, defensive line, with getting a better defensive line there and getting better production from that defensive line, and then help Jalen Johnson to kind of focus and then do what he does best and thrive even more. When it comes to Ryan Poles, I do think he has the makings of a great GM. I think we've already seen that. And while some Bears fans don't always agree with the route that he goes with certain players and they use like the Roquan thing or whatever else, it comes down to we don't have any bad contracts. You know how many franchises are held back by having bad contracts? And then even if they like then having bad dead money, like the Bears don't have that. And then it's allowed the flexibility that we see with this Bears team that we do have so much lateral movement, right? As far as latitude to be able to move freely and make moves and adjustments at the trade deadline and things like that. So Ryan Poles, somebody who's always looking at improvement, always looking at getting better, and I can't knock him for that. And I love that once he picks a path, he goes that route and he sees it through. And you know, we gotta continue seeing it get us to the point of us eventually going through long playoff runs, things like that. But I really do feel confident in saying that they're coming. They're coming. All right, guys. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Make sure you guys are following the show at Shy Bears Central. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns. ChicagoBearsCentral@gmail.com. Lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-242-9336. We are the #1 spot for everything Chicago Bears related, and I'll see you guys. You already know. Chi-Town up, Bear down. Love you guys. Peace, y'all.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.